Hello and welcome to another interesting edition of the Economy and Politics Show, where we discuss key socio-economic developments as it affects the households. This edition will be looking at Fintech and the National Economic Development. This is the 2021 Fintech Nigeria Week, and I'll be engaging Mr. Adeolu Bajomo, President of Fintech and National Development, as he discusses around this very interesting topic and how it is driving economic growth and activities. But before we begin this conversation, let's give you a wrap-up of what happened last week in the economic space. The 27th Nigeria Economic Summit held, which discussed securing a future, the fierce urgency of now, was an opportunity for policymakers and leaders to engage and discuss how Nigeria can chart a pathway with the right policies to move the nation forward. Also last week, President Muhammadu Buhari was among the key guests that attended the Future Investment Summit in Saudi Arabia. In Riyadh, he stressed the need for investors to continue to explore opportunities to look at Africa as a key hub where they can engage in trade and facilitate development. Also last week, the e-Naira, yes, the e-Naira was finally launched by the Central Bank of Nigeria. At the Presidential Villa Sorok, Governor of Central Bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, alongside Vice President Professor Yemi Osibanjo, SAN, watched as the President, Muhammadu Buhari, launched the e-Naira. The e-Naira has been described as one that would democratize financial access to Nigerians and deepen financial inclusion. We go on a break, and when we return, we'll have this interesting conversation.
Tune in to WebTV Daily to stay up to date and informed on the financial market, personal finance, and more. We have got you covered with all your favorite TV shows, economy and politics, market review, women's series, millennial talk, Islamic Finance Weekly, The Brief, exclusive interviews, events, and we keep you up to date on all the updates in the financial market with the market opening gong. Watch premium content. Watch WebTV. Same news, different perspective.
Mr. Adeolu Bajomo, thank you very much for having us and for accepting to feature on our show. First, tell us how the fintech industry is supporting Nigeria's economic development.
Everybody will tell you we're in the fourth industrial revolution, fast going into the fifth industrial revolution. The characteristics of the fourth industrial revolution are several, but the key theme around this is around digital. Digital, you hear the word digital transformation, then COVID happened, and you hear the word digital acceleration. So even if people didn't realize what they had to do digitally, now it's happening. The really interesting thing about the fourth industrial revolution, or one of the many interesting things, is that it's happening at the same time, across the world. So wherever you go across the world, digitalization is what is happening across government, across businesses, across small, micro, medium enterprise businesses, and in individual lives. It's the first time we're carrying a mobile phone of any sort, smart or feature, around it. So when you think around those lines, then you can see that the word innovation, creativity, and all of that comes in. And that brings in the need for technology solutions, innovation, startups, really feeding this digitalization. And that's basically where fintech plays, so to speak. We use the word fintech in Fintech Nigeria in a generic word, in a generic manner to cover all forms of techs, really. Whether you're talking agri-tech, whether you're talking medical tech, insure tech, or payments, or whatever, that's what we use. So it's so critical to the development of our economy from many perspectives. The first perspective here is that we're solving solutions. Africans are leveraging global technology, solving African problems. Leveraging the baseline technologies that we can use. So we're solving problems genuinely. So you can see the impact of fintech on financial inclusion, which is bringing more and more people into the fold, really, in there. We're creating jobs big time. We're bringing in foreign exchange into the country, which is an alternative source of income for the country, so to speak. So it's a very vibrant phenomenon. It's one that must be embraced. And when you look at Nigeria and you look at the demography, one of the things we have is numbers. Numbers in terms of people. So just imagine if we can now leverage and get these people trained up to such a high level where they become a resource, not just for Nigeria, but for the rest of the world. Bearing in mind Nigerians travel a lot. Then we've really, really energized and transformed our society. So it's an economic force that cannot be underestimated, that needs to be looked at carefully and leveraged both from a tactical and strategic perspective.
Now, part of the agenda of the current administration is to lift 100 million people out of poverty. And one way to address poverty in Nigeria is when people are empowered, whether through skills and also having access to jobs. For your industry, how are you addressing the issues of skills, particularly at a time where you shared the report recently that 25% of global jobs will require digital components?
At Fintech Nigeria, we have 250 members, and we focus on three themes amongst others. That's the connecting our members to opportunities, accelerating the development of fintech, and advocating for fintech really. In accelerating the development of fintech, we have an initiative called DigiStuds. And DigiStuds is an initiative that is meant to basically empower and train 1 million Nigerians on digital skills and technology, which is then available to industry. And we're doing it from a number of angles, really. So when you look at existing universities, we're initially partnering with the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, but that would go across the rest of the universities in Nigeria, where we're basically tweaking the curriculum into a curriculum that actually means that when a graduate of computer science comes out of a Nigerian university, they come out being employable from day one. Yeah, they're learning the right languages. Yeah, for data analytics, they're learning the right languages for cutting code, whether that's Java or C#. They're learning the right skills in terms of cyber security, and all the works, rather than just, all the theoretical skills that they're bringing, and then they're not useful for industry for another 12 months, so to speak. That's also fundamental because it means that we can actually shorten that talent gap, that we have in the industry at the moment, and actually pump out not just more talent, but more entrepreneurs, who can actually tie their talent with solving problems in the industry. Then secondly, we're setting up the tech sparks, where we're looking at existing talent in the industry, people who want to get into the digital world and putting up structures to train as many of them as possible and make them employable into the market. Talent is the key thing. Talent is what you compete with. Talent is what countries, not just companies, compete with. And we recognize the role we have to play in that space, really. And we're really, as we push DigiStuds out, we really, want to appeal to, the industry leaders to support the program. This is creating capacity for all of us, not one of us, all of us, and can only lift the country and the economy, and of course the employment situation that we have.
For the growth of any nation, policy and regulations are very key. And the fintech industry is not left out of this. We've seen what has happened in Singapore, how the industry has evolved and is doing great things because of policy and regulations. In Fintech Nigeria, you're doing a lot of engagement with the regulators. But just tell us how the policies and regulations in the country are helping to foster the growth of the industry.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I mean, this year has been quite encouraging, bearing in mind that we're coming from a COVID year last year where, we did just over 300 million in terms of overall investment in fintech in 2020, and halfway through the year, we've done much more in about 47 deals. And that's the one that is being noted. There are other deals going, if you like, offline that people are not actually been picking up per se. But regulation is extremely critical in every way. It's a balancing act. We're headed the right way, that in overall terms. So when you look at a regulator like the Securities and Exchange Commission, about 4 years ago, they started and recognized that a lot has to be done in terms of fintech regulation. So they started bringing about regulation around crowdfunding, for example, which is actually a leading regulation. They brought about regulation around cryptos and all of those kind of stuff, really. And all of those are extremely commendable. They have a department that is looking at innovation, fintech, startups, and all of the things that go with that. So, those are extremely commendable. And if you see the central bank and what they're doing as well, clearly it's going the right way. But should more be done? Of course, yes, more should be done. You have to look at it from both sides. So if you're a fintech, really, the last thing you worry about, is regulation. Let's be honest, because you're an innovator. Yeah, you're seeing problems. In fact, regulation can be the problem. You're just trying to break barriers, really. But if you're a regulator, you want to protect investors. You want the stability of the financial system. You can't just let anybody come in, and do whatever they like, because even with the innocence, of the fintech innovators, you then have the real world coming into play. People who are money launderers, criminals, and all of those. So you have to actually get that balance right. Yeah, the answer is not overly high regulation or no regulation. The answer is a realistic point which creates a playing field, that people trust, and will want to participate in the medium long-term basis, so to speak. I think in overall terms, we're headed the right way. Fintech Nigeria has the Regulators Forum, where we're bringing all the regulators. And we're bringing industry players to have, real conversations, around where the color of regulation, the shape of regulation, the temperature of regulation. If there are one or two, and in fact, the last meeting we had the World Economic Forum actually sent 2 representatives, because it's actually a novel thing that, the conversation, half of solving the problem, is to have the conversations with the people that you think you should have the conversations with, not with your friends. It's the people that, in there. So, in overall terms, are very positive. But we have to do much more. We shouldn't be under any doubt that much more is required, not just the conversations, but translation of the conversations into real actions. When you look at e-Naira, it's a much welcome development. Really, really glad that Nigeria is right at the fore of this. It's a great way to actually set up, if you like, the Nigerian digital environment, as technology forward, technology leading, future forward, and all of that stuff. We need the talent. We need to build more talent. And that goes to my earlier point around talent, because this is an opportunity for Nigeria to learn fast, put the learnings on board, but export those learnings. And by exporting those learnings, it has direct economic implication. It has direct national implication for the country, for the businesses that are able to leverage this as well. And there are many opportunities, that abound in this space, really. There are opportunities around data. There are opportunities around cyber security. There will be opportunities to co-create new products in financial inclusion. And I think, it's a great play for innovators across, Nigeria and beyond, looking to innovate around central bank digital currencies. When you look at remittances, when you look at how, inter-Africa trade plays out, and being able to settle in an inter-Africa basis, the opportunities are just endless. It's the first time in the history of mankind we're having programmable money. We've had all sorts of money, trade by barter, you name it. So, and the time cannot be better for it, really. And the opportunities of what we can do is huge. So, but the optimism must always be treated with a lot of humility and caution. You don't know what you don't know. You'll find out that many countries they're teaming up. They're teaming up very closely to learn more. So rather than one country do it alone, let's So you say Singapore, South Africa, Malaysia, all coming together. So how do we do this? Because what are the cross-border implications? What if there's a run on a currency? How do you do it? A run on a currency in the digital world, it can happen at a velocity that beats anybody else in the world. So those are areas where we have to go cautiously. What's the impact on retail banking? For example, if deposits move away from banks into the central bank, what's the impact on the structure of support? If the central bank now becomes a transaction facilitator, what do you do in terms of failed payments, reversals, all of those, who supports that? What kind of SLAs are you giving? Is there conflict of interest? So there are other issues as well. So, but both have to be, in overall terms, it's got to be welcome.
One area of interest also is cybersecurity. So there's innovation, there's technology, there's transformation, but of course you need a secure environment. And for you, what is very important in ensuring that cybersecurity is strengthened in Nigeria?
You're only as strong as your weakest link, as they say. So I think it was one of the panelists that talked about the fact that fintechs need banks. And fintechs will tell you, no, you don't need banks. Yeah? But where you're interfacing with anybody, then your security has to be extremely strong. And that strength is not just from you, it's a strength of your partners, your collective partners. So what many banks, or what some banks certainly are doing, if you take Access, for example, is that we recognize that. And when we have fintechs and partners and all of that, part of the onboarding process is actually to examine the cyber strength of both organizations in a very open manner. It's still a learning curve. Some organizations see it as intrusive, but that's the only way. You're not going to go into a marriage without knowing the person. So you can't go into a business in technology that has payments without strong cyber security, because again, the velocity of fraud is so huge that in literally seconds, billions can disappear. So cyber is extremely important. In fact, they'll tell you that most researchers will tell you that the reasons why banks fail historically will be due to non-performing loans. You will see that financial institutions will start failing because of cyber risks and sloppy cyber security approaches. And the same goes for fintech, because fintechs don't have the firepower to build those security around them, but they must have the awareness and they must partner with solutions providers and banks and other players that have strong cyber awareness and can up the game overall for them from the cyber perspective.
I must say a big thank you, Mr. Adeolu Bajomo, President of the Fintech and National Development, Nigeria, for giving us this opportunity to interact around how fintech is supporting Nigeria's economic development. And we look forward to more conversations around this in the future. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
And that will be all for this edition of the Economy and Politics Show. If you want to get further updates and insights around the developments in the fintech industry as it affects the economy, log on to www.prochange.com, and when you scroll down, click on Fintech, you'll get all the latest news, including the activities of Fintech Nigeria. Also, if you have questions, suggestions, or comments around our conversation today around Fintech and National Economic Development, please send your views, comments, or questions to otobasi.abaseko@prochange.com. We'll be glad to respond to you. Don't forget also that you can follow us on our social media platforms displayed on the screen. Please stay safe this period, and thank you very much for being part of this program. Have a nice day.